I'm with Lieutenant General D.S. Hooda, the former Army commander of the Northern Command from 2014 to 2016, very much part of the surgical strikes that took place in 2016, and since then a military analyst of reckoning. I'm Jyoti Malhotra with the Tribune, and today we are talking about the aftermath of Operation Sindoor, the conflict between India and Pakistan that began in the early hours of the 7th of May when Indian missiles hit terrorist bases in Bahawalpur, Muridke, in the heart of Pakistan, Punjab, as well as in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. And we know since then, over the last few days, how Indian missiles struck 11 Pakistani air bases. There were also Pakistani missiles that struck India, a lot of drones, UAVs that didn't get through the Indian air defense systems. But for all these questions, General, thank you so much for coming to the offices of the Tribune. And my first question to you is your reaction to Operation Sindoor and to the achievements from this operation.
So Jyoti, thank you once again. It's always a pleasure to be here with you. So I think, Operation Sindoor was launched with very clear objectives. And those objectives were that, look, we needed to send a very strong message to Pakistan that terrorism is not going to be tolerated, and that we will react. And if we look at 2016 and 2019 as tactical operations, yes, designed to send a message, I think this operation, the fact that it struck terrorist headquarters in Muridke and Bahawalpur, was a larger strategic messaging to Pakistan that we are willing to escalate, we are willing to move towards conventional conflict if required. We don't want to. But if things continue like this, you will get a very strong response from India.
So 2016, you mean the surgical strikes, and 2019, you mean the Balakot strikes?
That's right.
When Indian missiles hit Balakot in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm saying those are sort of more tactical in nature, because 2016 was within Pak-occupied Kashmir, 2019 was a single strike.
Yeah. In Khyber Pakhtunkhwa.
Yeah, at the Balakot terror camp. But, hitting in the heartland of Pakistan in Punjab, hitting the terrorist headquarters, definitely a different kind of signaling. The scale and scope of Operation Sindoor was much larger.
So, General, tell me, now in the last few years since the Balakot strike, now that was 5 years ago, in this strike, in the strikes at 11 bases in Pakistan, at 11 air bases in Pakistan, ranging from the north to the south. If you look at the Nur Khan base, which is near Pindi, Rawalpindi, Islamabad, you have Sargodha, then you go all the way down to Karachi, which is the Malir Cant base. In your opinion, what would the Pakistani generals and Air Force people, what would they be thinking when they found that Indian missiles were striking at their bases?
Look, I think, Jyoti, right from the beginning, we had said clearly, and we described our operation as measured, we described it as non-escalatory. We also said that we will only respond to Pakistan military targets in case they wish to escalate or strike our own targets. The fact is, this message really wasn't taken seriously by Pakistan.
Why do you think?
Oh, I think they felt that, look, we have to respond in some way. It cannot be because, how the Pakistan army is particularly, they feel that...
Which is this sort of chest thumping type of...
Chest thumping, the fact that, they always push this whole idea of our troops are superior, our military superior. We are the only ones who can stand up to what they call Indian hegemony in South Asia. We are the only ones who can ensure strategic stability in South Asia. I mean, this is the kind of language they use through their writings.
And they believe it?
They believe it. They believe it, and which is why they decided that, they would react. And so you saw these drone swarms coming in, and
right.
It then escalated to some even rocket attacks from their side. And I think it was at that time that then India decided that if you are going to respond in this way, we will show you what we are capable of doing. And so this strike on the 11 air bases, I think, was a very, very strong signal that we can take out your military infrastructure, and we have that capability to do that. And the precision with which these attacks were carried out, and we saw, I think obviously would have been one reason why Pakistan then said, I think it's time for a ceasefire.
But General, tell us, there's been a lot of talk in these last couple of days since the DGMOs first came on air on Sunday afternoon or Sunday evening, and then again they were back 24 hours later. A lot of questions on whether Indian missiles may have struck somewhere close to the Strategic Forces Command of the Pakistanis, and which is where the nukes are. So tell us as lay people, what do you think? Where are the nukes in Pakistan? Was there any danger of the Indian missiles striking to where they were close?
Look, so where the strikes took place, there are some nuclear facilities close by. To
where? Noor Khan?
Yeah, Noor Khan, Sargodha.
Okay.
But we have seen the photographs that have been put out by the Director General Air Operations of India.
Yeah, Air Marshal Bharti.
Yeah, and the precision with which the strikes were carried out. It was targeted at runways. It was targeted at radar station. It was targeted at hangars where their aircraft and other assets were. So I don't think there was any real direct danger to any nuclear weapons, and I think nor would the Indian political or military leadership carry out such a provocative act that they would deliberately target Pakistan's nuclear assets. My own sense, Jyoti, is Pakistan has used this opportunity to sort of raise the nuclear bogey, as they always do, possibly run to various capitals around the world, including the US, to say, look, this could really move into...
escalated to a nuclear flashpoint.
Yeah. And which is why possibly there was some pressure coming from, Washington, etc., that look, it would be better if both countries sort of de-escalate.
So Donald Trump's tweet, where he says that he's spoken to the leaders of both India and Pakistan, and that this could have escalated into a nuclear flashpoint, you think this is in reaction to the Pakistanis would have gone to the Americans and said, "Acha, we're worried about what the Indians are possibly doing."
Yeah, and it may not be true. I mean, but they would have said it in a way that, look, we think the Indians could be possibly deliberately sort of targeting, taking out, our nuclear assets, and that, of course, is their last line of defense against a superior military that India has. And so they always say that the reason why India will not go to a full-blown war with Pakistan is because we possess nuclear weapons. But as I said, I think it was more to try and sort of bring up this narrative, enhance this fear of nuclear holocaust in South Asia. As I said, I have no doubt that there would be no deliberate provocation of this nature by the Indian military.
So in which case, General, what is really astonishing to me at least is that the Pakistanis seem to be celebrating today. 11 of their air bases have been damaged. It's plain, isn't it? The whole world can see that India has sent a strong message. Now, except Pakistan doesn't seem to understand that this is the message, that they have lost this conflict.
Look, Jyoti, this is, as we say, this is a battle of the narrative. So, I have never seen this amount of misinformation and disinformation coming out in a space of 3 days, as we saw. When this crisis was unfolding, deep fakes, images, videos of some attacks having been carried out in India. The S-400 has gone up in flames. We have attacked this place, we have attacked that place. So I think what they're trying to sort of tell their people is that, look, we have come out equally victorious. in this battle. We have downed so many planes. We have done so much destruction to India's military infrastructure, and that is something I think they will play up. Although ultimately, in the long run, I would say that that realist message that look, if you are going to take on India, which is a much greater power in every respect, that this is something that could lead you down to to ruin. So it's better you don't.
The fact remains, General, that okay, let's face it, this was a conflict. We may not call it a war, but there were missiles striking at each other. Now, obviously, none of the Indian planes crossed the IB or the LOC, and vice versa. But missiles were struck from Indian territory, if you like, and from Pakistani territory. We also saw in Bathinda, which is close here, in fact, the photographers of the Tribune we have pictures of that, where a Rafale has been down. So we do know that at least one plane came down. Now, what do you know about that? Can you tell us anything about
Look,
that?
I don't know. I don't have any first-hand information, but as you said, from whatever information that we have, is that some aircraft of India were down. I think even the Air Marshal Bhatti admitted to it when he said, "Look, we can't talk right now about our losses."
Yeah, but all the pilots have come home. That's what he said.
Yeah.
He said everybody's come home safely, but he's not going to give you information or not going to give us information about how many planes were downed, basically.
Yeah, but Jyoti, this is a reality of conflict. I mean, if we
Which
think
is what?
Which is that if you are going to enter into conflict, you are going to have losses. I mean, you have militaries on both sides with highly capable, sophisticated weapon system, highly destructive missiles and systems, and to say that, look, there won't be a scratch to anybody, that there won't be any losses when you carry out conflict, this is impractical to think.
Okay.
But I think what we need to look at, and I think that's also what was alluded to in the DGMO's conference, have we achieved our purpose and objective?
That's the question.
Yeah. So I think we have. I think what we set out to do, the message we wanted to send both to Pakistan, in some ways to the international community, that look, we are tired of you trying to sort of equate India and Pakistan, not take enough strong action against Pakistan, so we are then free to do what we want. So I would say the overall broad objective, the messaging, the strategic communication as we call it, has been very good. I think the message has been driven home to Pakistan. Yes, there will be losses, yes, there will be some casualties, and that's something I think we need to accept. I mean, you throw your military into a conflict, some people will
Are
suffer.
going to get hurt.
Yeah.
Now, would you say then that Indian troops would have also moved to forward positions?
Certainly the defensive formations, as so there are two classes of formations in the army. One is what are called offensive corps or strike corps, whose task is to go across the border and launch operations into Punjab, Jammu Kashmir, Rajasthan, etc. And then there are what we call the defensive formations,
Right.
which immediately deploy to the border, and they are meant to see that any offensive from the Pakistan side is countered at the border itself. So I have no doubt in my mind that the defensive formations have moved, and they would have got deployed at the border. We saw similar movements on the Pakistani side too.
Where would they have deployed?
Punjab, Rajasthan, all across the border.
So all across the border. LOC as well?
Yeah.
So on both sides?
LOC is actually already people are deployed there.
Right.
All the time. But you would have seen reserves move up. There would have been additional movement of, say, artillery guns, etc. We do know from the scale of firing that took place across the line of control that definitely some additional artillery units from both sides had come into the area, and then engaged in this massive firefight.
Especially in Poonch, there was a lot of destruction in Poonch.
There was a lot of destruction. Look, I think the firing was heavy, very heavy across the line of control and the international border. I have it on first hand. Some of the officers over there said extremely heavy firing.
Unusual.
Yeah. Much more than unusual.
Why?
Once a conflict has broken out, then obviously there is almost like a no holds barred thing, and we know that this line of control is vulnerable to.
But why Poonch?
To ceasefire violations.
Why Poonch? Why
so actually why Poonch has come into focus, Jyoti, is because of civilian casualties. So the artillery fire landed in Poonch town, which is very close to the line of control.
It's like 12 kilometers away.
Yeah. And so which is why it's come into focus, because the military, the army has hardened shelters, they've got bunkers. So they don't suffer that many casualties. Although the DGMO said that we lost 5 soldiers in the firing. So I'm saying Poonch came up. So it wasn't as if there wasn't firing elsewhere of equal intensity. It was, but because it didn't hit any civilian targets, it was controlled, except in Rajouri where the ADDC
got killed.
Thapa got killed, because the shell landed on his house.
Right.
So Poonch was similar to that a lot of artillery shelling which came on the town itself, and therefore caused so many casualties.
So this is a very layperson's question, but 12 kilometers is, it's not that small a distance, is it? Between the line of control and the town.
No. So these medium artillery guns, Jyoti, have a range of 30 to 40 kilometers. So
I see.
You can remain 20 kilometers on your side and still have the ability to hit Poonch.
So do you think that the Indian Army would have been prepared for something like that? So here you have these missiles, striking at each other in the air, no plane crossing the IB or the LOC. But here you have Pakistani mortars, or these guns that are firing mortars on the Indian side. It's like a war, isn't it?
Yeah, so the line of control, Jyoti, often resembles war, and I keep saying that. Forget even this crisis. When firing was happening across the border, for the local unit which was under fire, it was like war. I mean, you had artillery, mortar, snipers, rocket launchers firing at your post. Here it was much more sort of extended because it went all across the line of control. Is there preparation? Certainly. What we had started seeing after 7th is that not only after 7th actually, Jyoti, so after the Pahalgam massacre, slowly we were seeing that the line of control was hotting up. Small incidents of ceasefire were being reported all across.
Right.
And of course, after 7th, just became...
It all exploded.
Yeah, that's the word. It just exploded.
So just to backtrack a bit, I just want to know, you have the Pakistani Army Chief, Asim Munir, make that statement a few days before the Pahalgam massacre, which many of us here in India have linked to the Pahalgam massacre, where he says that, Hindus and Muslims are separate nations and that Kashmir remains the jugular vein. Now, in Kashmir, you have the Baisaran massacre in which, 26 people are brutally killed. Would you link the two in your analysis?
I would link it in a way, Jyoti. So, a lot of people ask this question. Where is the smoking gun?
Yeah.
Where is the direct evidence? The fact is, what sort of evidence do we need? We know the Pakistan Army has been supporting terrorist groups. We know that they've been supporting these terrorist groups coming into India and carrying out these kind of attacks. The terror infrastructure in Pakistan is intact. So we also know that, from the investigation that some of these people who carried out the attack were from Pakistan. We know that preceding the Pahalgam attack, there was a series of infiltration which resulted in incidents happening in Jammu region in areas that were completely quiet, Katwa, etc. So I don't know whether you will get a call recording of somebody in the Pahalgam meadows calling up some ISI guy. The fact is, we know that Pakistan Army has supported terrorism, has supported this. We also know that depending on what the army chiefs are like, because of their control over the politics in Pakistan, that they also control a lot over what happens about infiltration, terrorist activity. So, Bajwa, for example, and the kind of the previous army chief, the kind of comments he made about geoeconomics, the need to.
And then the Kartarpur corridor was also open when he was chief. And this guy is obviously more sort of fanatic within quotes,
fanatic,
if you like.
more sort of radical. So.
But he was, I think the jury is out, which is that they believe that he's done well. But that's the odd thing, isn't it? Is that if his bases or, if his country's bases have been damaged, all 11 of them, including those which have nuclear weapons or at least warheads, then why would he still be a hero in his country? That's the odd thing.
No, the hero is that, look, we have stood up to India.
But they haven't stood up to India.
No, I mean, from their side, they will say, look, India did this on the morning of 7th. We didn't take it lying down.
Right.
We reacted. We also carried out attacks, drone attacks, etc., into their territory. So it isn't as if we have sort of completely backed down from this. We have shown that we are sort of equally well prepared. They are going to turn around and say, look, the ceasefire was done because the Indian military didn't want to escalate further. So, as I said, this is a narrative warfare which will carry on. Yeah.
So, last few questions, General, about the international community. How do you think the Chinese would have looked at this?
Look, my own sense is Chinese would be happy as long as some low-level conflict continues between India and Pakistan. We have been talking in the last few years about our military focus must now shift from the line of control to the line of actual control. And in the long term, China is, the bigger challenge. So if the Indian military focus remains on Pakistan, I mean, they would be quite happy. I think also with so much talk about shifting of some industries from China to India, iPhones, etc., also provides an opportunity for China to say, look, this is a region that is unstable. There are chances of conflict that is happening. So, are you sure you want to invest more and more in India? An all-out war obviously doesn't suit them.
Right.
Because an all-out war means there's going to be a clear winner and loser. And the clear loser is going to be Pakistan.
Which is their client state.
Yeah, which also they don't want. But they would be happy.
If these low-level tensions continue.
Yeah.
And, it's a bit odd for a U.S. president to make the kinds of comments that he does, but maybe this is a different U.S. president and, he's, I suppose he's entitled to say what he wants to. But for him to, take credit for de-escalating this conflict, do you think he's justified?
I don't think he's justified, Jyoti. There is no doubt that the Americans have spoken to both sides. There is no doubt that the Vice President spoke to Prime Minister on the 9th and perhaps advised him that we need to de-escalate. But to take sort of complete credit for it, as I said, I think after the Indian airstrikes on the Pakistani air bases, they would have been under tremendous pressure themselves. That if this continues and the kind of capability that was shown, and now we are reading in newspapers saying some 20% of their infrastructure was
Damaged.
destroyed and damaged. If this has continued for the next few days, I mean, I doubt whether a majority of the Pakistan Air Force would have actually been able to go up in the air.
You think that was the tipping point?
It was the tipping point. It was the tipping point.
That the air bases were struck?
And the damage that was caused was to such an extent. Look, Jyoti, the battle was largely being fought in the air.
Right.
We didn't see any direct naval engagements. We didn't see any ground troops advancing or trying to capture territory or do anything. So the war was largely confined to the air. And if your air bases are put out of action and your aircraft can't fly, then that would have been a very, very severe disadvantage to Pakistan.
But when your aircraft can't fly, is it because they're damaged or because the runways are damaged, or what is it?
The runways, Jyoti, so if you saw some photographs of the runway damage, you are talking about craters that are 8 to 9 meters
That's right.
wide and extremely deep. One crater in the middle of the runway and your aircraft cannot take off till that is repaired. And by the time it is repaired, you have a second strike coming. And so literally, I mean, this is the way classic tactics of keeping the enemy air force grounded is to take out their runways. I mean, you can't shoot down every aircraft in the air, but if you can't take them off the ground, you're obviously at a very, very severe disadvantage.
So they didn't have the air defense systems that prevented the missiles from coming in and damaging the runways.
So that's again one lesson I think that that both sides need to take home is that our traditional air defense systems are actually meant to take out aircraft. And now you have this whole series of very, very fast flying missile systems and air weapon systems like the Scalp, the BrahMos, and you need a completely different kind of air defense system to be able to take out missiles.
Yeah. So what missiles were used? The BrahMos was used?
So we used the BrahMos, then there were air launched weapons, which the Scalp, from the Rafales, and there's a missile called the Hammer. The Scalp has a range of, I think, almost 500 kilometers. So from your side, you can just launch it, and these are dead accurate. I mean, they will go through the roof of a house. They're that accurate. So the ability to intercept, because they are extremely fast flying, is also very, very limited.
So the war has really moved in a sense. It has sort of been transformed, right? It's changed.
It has, Jyoti. So I say this is a war from afar. You fight it staying on your own side. You're launching drones. You're launching these standoff weapon systems. You're launching ground missiles. I think that is also one reason why the battle escalated, because it seems almost risk-free that none of our soldiers or pilots are being put at risk. You're firing it from very far away. Consequences are not too much for you.
Or not
and so
seemingly too much, not sort of personal to you in that sense.
Yeah.
And yet, General, you were very much part of the 2016 surgical strikes when you personally went across the line of control.
No, I personally didn't, but soldiers did. Okay. Soldiers did, yeah. Yeah, that was more a sort of physical action. But I'm saying right now.
But you were monitoring it all through the night.
Yeah.
That night.
Yeah, we were monitoring it.
And you had your. So how were you monitoring it? Tell us.
So we had what we call drones now, unmanned aerial vehicles up in the air, and they were above the target area that we had selected. So we were able to see what kind of action is happening. Obviously, people on ground are seeing it much better. A lot of questions are often asked. Oh, you must be controlling this whole thing minute by minute. And I said, you can't. Once the soldiers have gone across and they are the ones who are seeing the situation live in front of them, we had trained them, we had planned well, we had equipped them well. On ground, then how things work out would be how they perceive the situation, how they do it. So while we were watching to see that everything is fine, if in case something goes wrong, then we had plans in place to support them. But largely actions on ground are by those people who are doing it on the ground.
So what a far cry really from 2016 to 2025.
It is.
9 long years, and yet the world, in a sense, the nature of war has changed.
Yeah. So particularly in terms of drones and autonomous systems and distances at which you can target things, the accuracy with which you can do it.
Right. And my last question to you, the Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, almost nowhere in the picture. You heard one, sort of stray address from him when the war came to an end, or this conflict came to an end. But so he seems to be pretty much a very weakened sort of character, and Asim Munir seems more strengthened, would you say?
Yeah, so that situation was already there, Jyoti, because the current crop of political leaders who are in government in Pakistan are completely dependent on Asim Munir. He's the one who's propped them up. He's the one who's ensured that the most popular leader, Imran Khan, remains in jail.
In jail.
And now with what has happened, and we talked about the narrative building, his position is further strengthened, which frankly, Jyoti, is not a good thing for India-Pakistan relations. Unless there is some political control, unless there is some political sensibility on the military leadership, they will continue to take decisions which are far removed from understanding of domestic politics, international politics, diplomacy.
Right.
We've seen that whenever they have a strong military leader, you will have misadventures like Kargil during Musharraf's time.
Yeah. And then misadventures like Besaran.
Absolutely.
Or misadventures like this current conflict that we saw right now.
Yeah. So the whole nature of civil-military relations in Pakistan also has a lot of impact on not only eternally what happens in their country, but also bilaterally what happens with India.
I'm afraid I'll have to leave it there, General, but thank you so much for your time. And before I let you go, dear viewer, I'd urge you to subscribe to the YouTube channel of The Tribune. Tell us what you think of all the properties of all the shows that we have for you. Do subscribe to us and tell me what you think about this video. Thank you so much for watching.